Welcome to Three and Out with Jason and Kevin. I am Jason. That is Kevin. We are brought to you by CincyJungle.com. We are a part of OBI, Orange and Black Insider on YouTube. Check us out there. It's us and it's Anthony and John over at OBI. And then we are part of the Believe Network. Believe in Cincy is the name of the channel. It's us, it's OBI, it's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends, and then it's Matt and Willie No Ball. So great Bengal stuff pretty much every day. And as everybody knows, the NFL never sleeps. So there's still news going on now, even though the Bengals have nothing going on. So, Kevin, man, what's going on?
Nothing. Excited for the Pro Bowl. I think I'm the only one, and maybe the entire fandom who is. I think the Pro Bowl's fun, man. I look forward to it every year. I don't like the flag football part of it so much. I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I like the skills competitions. I think it's goofy and fun, and low stakes football entertainment's hard to come by.
It is. It is. I think the way it used to be, there used to be a skills competition, and then they played the game, and I think they moved away from the skills competition for a long while.
Yeah.
And it was bad. And now the flag football thing, I agree with you. You know, it's okay. But I do enjoy. That's Thursday, correct?
Yeah,
Thursday, I think. Yeah. So I do enjoy the skills stuff. I know that they said that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were going to take part, and then Trey Hendrickson, I think, was going to take part in like tug of war and stuff like that. I don't know. It is cool to kind of see these guys. I think they're all mic'd up, and it's kind of cool to see them cut loose and how they talk to each other when they're not. You know what I mean? Kind of a glimpse behind the glass there, but I'm excited about it. I don't think I'll watch on Sunday. Do you think you will watch the flag football part of it on Sunday?
It's what the flag football part is. Do I have literally nothing else going on? Then I'll probably end up putting it on. But if there's anything else that needs doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I got some kind of project I'm working on, if my wife wants to go see a movie, whatever. I'm out the door. I'm not making any kind of special time for it.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I am excited to watch the skills competition. But yeah, so that'll be fun. Other than that, man, there's really nothing going on. We're in that weird week between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl. It's the Chiefs and Eagles again. Yay. But yeah, I think behind the scenes, the Bengals are busy, hopefully. But the big thing that we're going to talk about tonight is the defense and the defense hiring Al Golden and as the new defensive coordinator, and then kind of just going to go through and look at what the different position groups look like and what they have to build on and what they need to do, I think. So, so first of all, I'm just going to ask you, it seems to me, and I think you would probably agree with me, that Al Golden seemed to be the pick from the very beginning. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of seemed like that's the way they wanted to go. They didn't really show any interest in interviewing anyone else. I know they talked about Patrick Graham a little bit. I don't even know if he interviewed, but I know that as soon as the national championship game, the NCAA national championship game was over, it was pretty much kind of assumed Al Golden's going to be the guy. You know what I mean? How do you feel about the hire?
I heard that he. Well, real quick, the moment I heard he never left Cincinnati, you realize that this has been going on behind the scenes maybe for a while now. Not that they were planning on firing Lou Anarumo, but I guarantee you Taylor and Golden sat down for a dinner or a lunch at some point and at least floated the concept of, hey, if a new defensive coordinator spot ever opens up in the future, is that something you might be interested in? We might be interested in having you back. I just guarantee that happened, even if it was casual, even if it wasn't like a more in-depth kind of a thing. But other than the process, I really, really like the hire. I think that I give it a B, a solid B, potentially a better than that. But he brings what we need: player development, a little bit of scouting for his connections in college and everything he went through there, and just what he's talking about as far as the ability to play fast. I feel like you can see that Lou Anarumo needs a certain type of player in order to be successful. He needs Jesse Bates. And I think Lou Anarumo is what happened to Cam Taylor-Britt. It was too complicated. It was not, the communication was kind of poor and not able to play fast. And I could see for a lot of these guys, Al Golden being exactly what they need in order to take the next step. What about you?
So when you said that you could see there being like a conversation in the background, I absolutely agree with you. He left for Notre Dame after the 2021 season. And I think from 2021, 2022, maybe even in 2023, there were conversations about, maybe Lou Anarumo is going to be a head coach. And I think maybe that's where those conversations stem from is, hey, Lou's going to get hired. We know he will. We like you to come back. Obviously, that didn't happen. He got fired. But I do really like the hire for all of the things that you mentioned. He was the Bengals linebacker coach when they drafted Jermaine Pratt and when they drafted Logan Wilson. He developed two of the best, maybe the best duo of coverage linebackers in the league. At least they were. They've fallen back a little. Yeah, they've fallen back. And I think a lot of that has to do with the defensive line not being nearly as good as it was. But I do like the hire. I think he's a guy that's going to bring in a system that's going to complement the guys they have now more so than needing like I need this, and this, and this to have this be a successful unit. You know what I mean? And I don't think we don't need the Bengals to have a top 5 defense. We just need to have them competent. The Bengals could be playing in the Super Bowl if they had a competent defense. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if the Bengals do what we hope they do, which is sign T, sign Chase, sign Burrow, and build a good keep Burrow, and build a good, competent offensive line around Burrow.
Yeah.
They almost can't have a top 5 defense.
Right.
And that's fine. Right. I mean, you should always be looking to improve, but the idea that we're going to have a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense is
that's insane.
Not realistic.
Right.
What you need is somebody who can develop talent so that you can have a cheap but effective defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think Al Gold's the guy to do that.
I agree. I also think I don't know. I think that his defense at Notre Dame, I know that you're not like you did you watch the national championship game?
I did, mostly just because I wanted to see what Notre Dame was doing.
Yeah. They played against Ohio State. Yeah. They played against Ohio State, which is just a juggernaut. You know what I mean? It's just, I think that the way you win that game is divine intervention. But I think that Golden showed that he can take these kids, and with the transfer portal, you never know who you're going to have, but he can take these kids and develop them into something that can get you to a national championship game. Despite the fact you don't have the Ohio State's offense. You know what I'm saying? So I do agree that from a developmental standpoint, it's a great hire. It's a great hire. I can't think of anyone else that I would have realistically rather have. Right. You know what I mean? They weren't going to go out and get Bill Belichick as a defensive coordinator. As cool as that would be, it's not going to happen.
Would you rather have Salah?
I would.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
but that's why it's a B. I'm not down on it. It's still a great pick, but it's not the perfect pick.
Right. I agree with that. It's not the perfect pick. But again, I think Robert Saleh is a guy who gets picked up on a team that doesn't have a good offense. We need a great defense. You know what I'm saying? We just need this defense to be, keep hold them to more field goals and touchdowns more often than not. Kind of bend but don't break. Don't give up too much. Grab a turnover here or there, and that's all. That's all they need. That's what they need. That's it. You know what I mean? And they didn't have that this year. So, to what Al Golden needs, he is inheriting a
lot, Jason.
Yeah, not a lot. He needs a lot.
He needs a lot.
Yeah, he does.
Defense is in tatters, my friend.
Yeah,
there is. I during the off season, me and you both do the same thing where we'll get real excited and real down. Yeah. And I get in my own head a lot about this, and just doing a little bit of research for this episode. I'm down a little bit. I really hope we can hit in free agency. I really hope we're willing to spend some money. I hope we hit on the draft, because if we want to be good next year, we're going to need more than a little bit of luck. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's get to it.
I agree with that. Let's start with, you want to start with the defensive line, move our way back? Does that work for you?
Yeah.
So on the defensive line, he's bringing in Trey Hendrickson, best player on the defense, and they're bringing in Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson. They're probably going to cut Sam Hubbard. So really, you kind of got 3 guys there for a 4-3 defensive line.
We always forget about Sheldon Rankins. He's gone too.
They're going to cut him. Yeah.
Just had to say it,
Yeah. Oh yeah. But so you have those 3 guys. You need ton of depth at defensive tackle. You need a really good, and not to say that Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson won't be good, but they're second-year guys. I would like someone else to be in there as a starter. And if that means extend BJ Hill again, something. Or re-sign BJ Hill. I don't know what they want to do, but they can't go into the draft saying like, well, we have the 17th pick, we need another edge defender, and then we'll just piece it together. Like, they have to spend, I'd say, of the 3 levels of defensive line, linebacker, and secondary, they have to spend the vast majority of their money on the defensive line. Do you agree with that?
I do agree. I think specifically at defensive tackle, if they're going to make a splash play, they should be targeting defensive tackle as a place to do it. It is the place where money spent can make the most impact. And what I mean by that is I don't see anyone ready to step up as the impact player on the interior of the defensive line, whereas I could see Murphy taking a step this year.
Yeah.
Not saying he will, but he's a first-round pick, and you hired Al Golden partly for his ability to develop players. Right. I think that Murphy is maybe not the plan, but I don't think they're going to completely try to replace him either. I could see slightly, I don't know who it would be. I don't look at free agency, but somebody like a Chase Young would maybe be the highest level they would possibly go on the edge. But I expect somebody a little cheaper because I think Murphy's the answer. The interior, I think they're going to have to hire at least 2 people. Maybe more. What would you think if they went out and signed like a Milton Williams? Because that's going to take defensive tackle off the board for the first, year or 2.
Yeah.
First round or 2 of the draft.
Yeah. I'd be thrilled. If a guy like that came here. I kind of think that on the defensive line, I kind of feel like edge is more important. And I agree with you. I don't think that Myles Murphy is the plan, but I think he's in the plans. I think the biggest issue with the Bengals and a huge issue with the secondary is the lack of a pass rush. And Trey Hendrickson's great, but there's nobody else. Joseph Osai is a free agent. Maybe Myles Murphy takes a step, but if he doesn't, you're in the same boat you were in 2024 with one guy who can get to the passer, and that's it. You know what I mean? And the secondary needs to be improved, and Cam Taylor-Britt needs to step it up, and we'll get to all that. But I think one thing that hurts secondaries bad is just a quarterback just sitting back there, because someone's going to get open eventually. You know what I mean? So I personally think that the opposite edge is more important than defensive tackle. They're close, but I think that edge is more important. They need to address both, in my opinion.
Well, let me rephrase this then, because I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I think that, to me, the money spent just based off the strength of competition, defensive tackle might be a better investment, but I do understand your side of it. But let me explain it. Let me talk about this a different way. I don't think the Bengals are going to make a splash on edge. I think the Bengals want to get back to a Super Bowl caliber team next year. And based on the Bengals and based on the way they do business, they are not looking at that first round pick. Right. And I think Dax Hill's the same way. And thinking, we're willing to burn this investment. We're willing to not believe in this guy. Because behind the scenes rumblings, that was always kind of an issue between management and Lou Anarumo anyways. You'd heard multiple comments about Dax Hill and finding a way to play him, and Lou Anarumo never did. So what I'm saying is I would be shocked if Myles Murphy is not given the opportunity to be the starter at edge by this organization, because I think they think getting Myles Murphy up and running is one of the best ways to fix this line. I think that. I totally agree. If true or not, that is not a statement I'm making. That's what I think they feel is they're not going to give up on this investment yet.
I would agree. I could see that being the case, that they don't want to give up on Miles Murphy, because they did. I think he was a number 18 overall pick. That's a first round pick. That's a guy that you have to have hit. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you have to have your first round picks hit. I could see that being the case. And if they do that, I hope they're right, because they can't afford to be wrong. You know what I mean? They really cannot afford to be wrong. If they just let guys sit back there with Mahomes and Allen and Lamar twice, and they just can't let passers just sit back and throw. And
I agree.
We've seen that. Yeah, we've seen that over and over again. That's how they were going to attack Joe Burrow. We're not going to give him time. You know what I mean? So we both agree the defensive line needs a lot of spending. Got to spend a lot.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if they use their first round pick on defensive linemen. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to kind of see what they do. Is there any doubt in your mind whatsoever that they cut Sheldon Rankins and Sam Hubbard? Any doubt?
Sheldon Rankins is gone. That's 100%. I could see Hubbard coming back, but only as a depth piece on a vet minimum kind of a deal. Yeah. I don't know how Hubbard feels about going into free agency at this point in his career, especially after having a couple down years. That might be something he's interested in, just to kind of end his career with the Bengals. I don't know. But either way, he's not coming back as an impact player, and he's not coming back as a starter. So it's kind of the same difference.
I agree with that. All right, so you move back to linebacker now.
Yeah.
So they still have
our
Logan
starters
Wilson.
are Logan Wilson and who? John Meta. God.
Well, it's Jermaine Pratt now, unless they cut him.
Yeah, but I expect
if they cut him.
Although he's like Al Golden. He's like, that's the one part, right? About like Al Golden. Is he going to make that same damn mistake that they made for like multiple years running of just hanging on a little too tightly to the past? Because I mean, Pratt's got to go, my man. He's got to. He's got
to. He missed PFF credits him with 20 missed tackles this year, which is insane. You know how many Logan Wilson had missed tackles? Logan Wilson had 3.
No, but not
3 compared to 20. Yeah, that's a big deal. And tackling was a huge issue for the Bengals this year. So many missed tackles. And you just saw it almost every single week. I know Pratt led them in tackles, but he also led them in missed tackles. And, they extended him. I could see that going either way. I could see them cutting him. I could see them just saying, we're going to hold on to him because he's Golden's guy already. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
I could see it going either way. I think I tend to lean. I think that a good linebacker, I'll take that back. I think it would be easier to replace him with a better player for not much more money at all. If they even spent, they could even spend less money and get a better player. But yeah, as far as like depth there, ADG is a free agent again. I was shocked when he came back to the Bengals in 24. I don't expect him to come back in 25.
Especially because he changed his agent, right?
Yes, he did change his agent. Yep, I saw that.
Mulligetta.
And then you said Njong Meta. The fact if they do cut Pratt and it's just Logan Wilson and Njong Meta, they're in trouble. They got to figure something out.
Yeah.
And I
expect they're going to find somebody in free agency. I hope it's Akeem Davis-Gaither. We're going to get to this later too with Osai, because unfortunately Osai is also represented by Athletes First, which is Mulligetta. But again, this might be a little too like inside baseball. If you don't know what we're talking about, Mulligetta is an agent that the Bengals have never successfully negotiated a contract for. He's never getting players paid. Maybe like these kind of more low stakes type of deals might be a good like way to start like massaging this relationship a little bit, because eventually we're going to have to work with this guy. He's one of the like biggest agents in the game right now.
You can't have a huge agent that you don't have working relationship with.
Right.
Yeah.
So hopefully, but either way, we're either keeping King Davis-Gaither, probably signing at least one linebacker. Hopefully somebody we can make at least somewhat of an impact. And I would look for a linebacker in the 3rd or 4th round as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I'd agree with those. They took Logan. I found Logan Wilson in the 4th. I think they took Pratt in the 5th, maybe. I think that's right. So I mean, they're just like centers and guards, and you can find linebackers. It's the position's been kind of devalued as running backs have kind of gone away. So then we move back to the secondary. I think that you would agree with me when I say that this was the piece of the defense that had the most issues in 2024. The secondary had more
Yes, I also feel like
miscommunications,
it's
more issues.
Yes. I also feel like it's the most complete unit of the defense, which isn't saying it is complete.
Right.
But you could start. I mean, that's the point, right? We're looking at these units, and they don't even have enough players to like really field a team. Like there's giant gaping holes. The D line in particular, I mean, just it needs bodies just to take snaps. It doesn't even have the bodies to do it. The quarterback room is different and weird, and I have no idea what the correct call is, right? Because, well, hear me out. You had Cam Taylor-Britt, who looked great and then looked awful. You got to give him another year to figure it out one way or the other before you make a call on him. You had DJ Turner, who started to look good last year, and then he got hurt. You have Dax Hill, who started at safety, wasn't good, then moved to quarterback, started to look good again, got hurt, and now we have to decide if we're going to pick up his fifth-year option on what, like 4 games?
Yeah, I know.
Data about how he play quarterback?
Yeah. Just no.
Yeah. There's just no way to know. Mike Hilton can't cover no more, but he's still one of the best run defending corners in the league. Do we try to re-sign him? We'll get to that because I think me and you kind of disagree on it.
I think we do.
But if we're going to see, like, because of the amount of players needed and positions to fill, I would be shocked if we saw any kind of an impact signing at all at cornerback, period. I think that they are looking at the cornerback room, hoping that communication was responsible for most of the issues, and hoping Al Golden can fix that problem. And I kind of think that's the plan in the cornerback room, which you can't fix it all at once, man. So I don't even hate that. I really don't. But it's going to be kind of a nail biter for the first couple games till we see if they can get it up and running.
So you said Cam Taylor-Britt, again, he had a great couple years, or he had a great year, I think. And then he came back last year and he had like some crazy highlight interceptions. And then he just had moments where he just seemed to be somewhere else entirely. I do agree with you on him. He was so good and then bad. Like, I think you got to give it some time and figure out who he's going to be. You know what I mean? Dax Hill. Well, DJ Turner, I'm excited about. He's a great athlete. He just got hurt. Hopefully he comes back and he's strong and ready to go. So the Dax Hill conversation and the Mike Hilton conversation are totally different. Dax Hill was so bad at safety, and I don't even know if it's his fault. He played corner in college. You know what I mean? Like, I really didn't know if that's on him, but he was so bad at safety.
Well, they also tried to slot him in just as like Jesse Bates' replacement. Even as a safety, he was never going to slot in like that.
No,
like, it's just not his profile. It was an insane pick. It really was an insane pick.
Yeah, but moving him, like keeping him, so they have to decide on his 5th-year option by May 1st. So I'm just going to ask you, do you think that the Bengals should pick up Dax Hill's 5th-year option?
No.
Considering
I don't.
No? Okay.
No.
Considering they got to pay.
We'll play him for 4th year and then negotiate if we have to. I don't think there's any reality in which Dax Hill becomes a shutdown corner. I think he can be very good. But I don't think he can just take that step. It's been his development has been too all over the place. He especially can't do it in a year. So I don't want to pay him that kind of money for the 5th year. I don't think the Bengals will want to pay him that kind of money for the 5th year. As opposed to Murphy, I do think that they're willing to just be kind of one and done with Dax. That's just the vibe I get. Maybe I'm wrong, but they also have a lot more options there with DJ Turner, with Cam Taylor-Britt, Newton. Newton looks
Josh
like
Newton.
He could actually be a real impact player.
DJ Ivy there.
Looks like he could actually do something as well. Like, they have a lot of options, so I don't think they're going to pull the trigger. What about you?
I don't think they will either, just because they, like you said, the 5th-year option is a first of all, it's all fully guaranteed, and it's a decent chunk of change for a guy that played 5 games at the position they think he can play. It's just not worth the risk. It's just not. And you know what, if he shows up in 2025 and he balls out, awesome for us. it is what it is. You know what I mean? Just it is what
Yep.
it is. But yeah, I don't see them picking it up. They just have no. They have no. I'm trying to think of the word I want to use. They have no frame of reference for what kind of player he's really going to be. You know what I mean? That's just too much
Sure.
money for a question mark. Mike Hilton, I personally think he's so important to this defense. I think they should re-sign him. But we talked about this earlier today, and you almost had me changing my mind because you are right. He is a liability as a coverage. He is a liability, especially when the rest of the secondary is not playing well either. It makes it even so much worse. He's just so good in the box at what he does. You know what I mean? Yes. And if your defensive line is going to struggle, you know, if you don't have, it's just having that extra guy. It's like playing a 4-3 with with three really good run stopping linebackers. Just one of them happens to suck in coverage. So the problem is like you said, too much money probably that would keep Mike Hilton here. Too much money. He's 30. And you can't take a guy who's a liability in coverage in the AFC that's going to start on your defense. Yeah. I do agree with you. I thought more about it. You can't do it. So he's probably gone, which means you need a nickel corner now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. I thought about him. Yeah, he's probably gone. You need a nickel corner now. Maybe that's where Dax Hill slots in. He did that a lot in college, but then again, if that's your plan and you don't exercise this 5th-year option, then what's the whole point? You know? So I just really don't know what they're going to do there. I think that they're just going to have to, they love first round corners. Maybe that's what they'll do. Maybe they'll take a corner in the first round. Maybe they'll grab someone free agency. But if Mike Hilton goes, I do agree with you that it's a really not complete. There's players if you ran out of defense, you'd have guys out there in the secondary. And like you said earlier, you don't have guys on the defensive line. You know what I mean? So you at least have bodies. I don't know if they're going to draft a guy. I don't know if they need to sign a guy, but they got to do something. They have to do something. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think that they're going to roll the dice. I think that they would gladly take Mike Hilton back. I think that Mike Hilton's going to want more money than they would pay.
I agree with that. For his age, I think it's probably true.
It sucks because I love Mike Hilton. But I do tend to think that if he can't be trusted in coverage, then what's the real difference between him? Like the chess piece is that he could at least drop into coverage and help you out. He's really not being able to do that last year. So his versatility is out the window, and now he's just a good run defender. You could probably find that for cheaper. But he's a good locker room guy. So if they decide to keep him and they even spent a little more money than I was comfortable with, I still wouldn't be mad about it. Because, you got to keep the locker room. Other than that, if he's gone, I think they're going to roll the dice. I think they're going to see maybe Dax Hill can fill it. I think maybe Josh Newton could take a swing at it. There's just different options. But regardless, I think the answer is in-house. I think if they sign a cornerback, it's going to be
outside.
It's going to be outside. It's going to be somebody who they don't intend to start, an Eli Apple type of situation. Can start. You hope he doesn't.
Like a depth guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I also don't see them drafting a cornerback in the first round unless they make a big splash at defensive tackle. The defensive tackle class is just too deep, and they need one too badly. That I cannot imagine a scenario based on what I've seen so far where there isn't a first-round talent defensive tackle up there and available at pick 17. So
I can see that being the case as well.
The move, unless
something crazy happens. Yeah, I can see that being the case too. I think and then safety, just safety real quick. I see the Bengals. I think they're going to roll. I think they're going to roll with Geno Stone and Jordan Battle. Sorry. I see that as their plan, and maybe a depth guy. I don't know what they're going to do, but I think that they have a plan. It's going to be Geno Stone and Jordan Battle for 2025.
Yeah, so I can see them leaning on Tyson Anderson a little bit, giving him a shot at something. Not to mention we're absolutely 100% drafting Xavier Watts in the second. You can't convince me otherwise. So that's going to solve the safety issue pretty quickly.
For those of you who don't know, Xavier Watts is a former wide receiver turned safety who not only that's such a huge change. He balled out under Al Golden up and he's so good. And he's not the fastest guy, but it's just a lot like Jordan Battle. Great anticipation. Having that offensive background, he kind of sees where things are going to go. I would love the pick. Absolutely love the pick.
I would. That's my dream round 2 pick right now.
Nice. So the best thing, obviously, they got the coach now. Now, once things open up and free agency opens up, we've discussed, they obviously need edge or defensive tackle, one of the two. Splash at one of the two. You know what I mean? I kind of prefer edge. You said you prefer defensive tackle. Maybe depth at linebacker, and then depth at corner, unless they want to try to find a guy to step in for Mike Hilton. But like you said, you think that's
more than depth at linebacker. We need a starter at linebacker.
Okay.
Unless they're a lot more comfortable with Meta than I am.
Right. Or they decide they want to stick with Pratt. If Pratt's there, he's starting.
Or yes.
I mean, that's just a fact. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He is. You're right.
Yeah. So here's the only thing that could throw a huge wrench in the gears that kind of scares me is last year Trey Hendrickson said he wanted a trade, but that was not going. It was never going to happen. He just got extended. This year, if they don't, because he's under contract for one more year, if he says, hey, I want to be extended, and they said, well, we can't do it, or we got we got Chase, we can't do it, we're not going to be able to do it. What if he says, I want to be traded, and I mean it now, I'm not going to play unless you trade me? That scares the shit out of me. And the only reason is because if you do that, you have no pass rush all of a sudden. Now, I don't know if he's the kind of guy that does that. I have no idea. I was kind of shocked last year, especially after he got extended, when he did say, oh, hey, I want to trade. But it's obviously there. You know what I mean? It's out there.
Yeah.
He has a new agent as well. I don't remember who it is, but he fired his agent after that whole ordeal. So that's my big fear, is that Trey Hendrickson says, trade me or sign me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do. I feel like this is such a weird place where the fandom is split. People who aren't super on Twitter, Duke Tobin had an interview recently, and in it he said, I would try to be as neutral about this as I can when I say it, but basically that Trey Hendrickson deserves an extension, but it's a conversation, and they're going to see how the negotiations go. And Bengals Twitter, 50% of them heard 100% we are not extending or signing Trey Hendrickson to a longer contract. And the other 50% definitely really heard. Yeah, that's you. Definitely really heard, oh no, Trey Hendrickson's getting an extension. It's not even that big a deal. That's what I heard. Every time I've heard Duke Tobin say we're going to try to extend this person, they make a very valiant, real attempt to try to extend that person. He's not a Brown, but he's a Brown. He's a Blackburn.
Right.
They have this need to constantly pretend that they're like the smartest people in the room and constantly trying to wheel and deal and everything else.
Right.
And I like Duke Tobin, but it's obnoxious. I do think it makes players feel unappreciated. I think that the same contract would happen whether or not Duke Tobin said what he said, or he stood out in front of everybody and he said, we're going to get this deal done. It's incredibly important. We're going to get this deal done. And Trey Hendrickson walk away from one of those feeling a lot more appreciated. But regardless, I think Hendrickson's sticking around. I'm not worried about it. But you're right. If Hendrickson's gone, the offense you might as well just scratch the whole damn thing and start over. Man. Like, what are we even doing at this point?
It's funny that we heard the same sentence and you took away, oh, that's good, they're going to sign Trey. And I took away, he said, but, which means they're not going to do it. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going to happen. I hope they keep him around. I hope that if they can't, I hope he doesn't request a trade. The fact that Tobin talked about it, like you said, it means something, because anytime he's said, like you said, we're going to try to get this done, they do try. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that's my big fear. I don't have, like, offensively, that's another episode for another week. I don't think it's nearly as up
I think
in the
that'll be next episode, actually, is because the offense is a much easier topic.
Much easier.
Probably a much shorter episode.
We're moving up.
Let's do the episode right now. Sign 2 guards, 1 to start, 1 you hope doesn't start. You're going to draft a guard in the first 3 rounds. That's going to be competing for the other spot, and you keep Gesicki around because you don't know what happened to all. Episode's done.
Yep. Find a wide receiver late. Yep, done. We don't even have to do that next week. Perfect. No, Yeah, it is easier for sure. It is easier. They do need to work on the offensive line, but again, we'll get into that next week. So, you got anything else, man?
Nope, that's it. Longer episode, but there's a lot to go
Yep,
over, man. The defense is
there is.
complicated. That's
Yep.
Duke Tobin even said something about that too in that interview, just about, I can't remember the exact words, but basically admitting that they hung on too long to a bunch
Yeah.
of like kind of aging talent from the
Yeah.
Super Bowl run, which I've never heard him
No,
admit
I just
to
kind of want to
any
know.
mistake ever.
Right.
It was like
I
kind of
know.
weird. Like,
I kind of like when he
maybe they're
said
being
that,
a
I was
little
like,
more
who
like,
are you talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like,
I
oh, a
know.
little more like a little self.
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's late.
All right.
Yep.
So once again, we are on YouTube on the Orange and Black Insider. It's us and Anthony and John over at OBI. And then on the audio side, the MP3 side, we are on the Believe Network. The channel is called Believe in Cincy. It is us, it's OBI, it's Matt and Willie No Ball, and it's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends. So subscribe, like, follow, all the stuff. We'll be back in a couple weeks and we'll talk offense. So, Kevin, you got anything else, man?
That's it.
All right. Who day?
Who day?